Welcome back to another episode of Artist Banter, a show where we delve into the vast, unique, professional world of professional artists and also artists here on campus. Today I'm joined with Payton Smith, and we're going to be talking about the BFA Graphic Design program, her work on 22 West Media, and what she does as a meeting illustrator, because that's something super cool. And so without a doubt, hello, Payton.
Hello, Alex.
Thank you so much for being on this episode of Artist Banter.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's a beautiful room that you have in here. I noticed you have a bunch of really cool paintings and art. What's the significance of the room that we're in right now?
Yeah, so this is the BA Center room. Our old faculty advisor for BA Studio Art Club, Marion Stewart, took it upon herself to kind of go about and make this room all beautiful, fill it with lots of paintings. And as our club has kind of gotten older and progressed, we've added some more stuff to kind of make it our own. So now it's just kind of our little safe space for us officers to kind of plan stuff and make the magic for our club happen. So
I love it. You can definitely feel the magic, the whimsy when I'm in this room. It's very beautiful. And so Studio Art Club, the BA Studio Art Club, is obviously a club here on campus.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Yeah, so BA Studio Art Club basically just offers a space for artists or people who are liking art to come together and try new things that they might not have ever had the chance to try before. So we do workshops. Just today we had a workshop for sand art. We made these little bottles of sand art. We've had workshops for bracelet making and printmaking in the past, and we're planning some more for later this semester, like ceramics and a Bob Ross paint along.
Oh,
so those are fun. Yeah. And so we have basically meetings where people can just talk, make friends, and kind of practice art in ways they might not have had a chance to try before.
I love that. And so it seems like it's not even studio art students. Can it be anyone on campus that can join?
Anyone can join. Most of our club is art majors, but you do not have to be an art major to join. And actually, a lot of our members aren't art majors. It's a really good way to have an outlet when you aren't an art student, because we provide all the materials. So all you have to do is show up and just kind of bring your ideas. We also kind of listen to what people want to see in the club. And so if you have an idea for something you want to try, you could talk to us and pitch it to us as the club, and then a lot of the times we can make it happen. So
I love that. It's so creative and so fun.
Yeah.
And so for something like this kind of club, what do you think the importance is to have a studio art club that's open to all on campus? What's the importance of having a club like that here at COCLB?
It's pretty important. As BA, all art students start as BA students before they apply into any BFAs if they choose to do so. But even though most art students are BA majors, there's not really opportunities or spaces for them in the same way that there are for BFA students. So a lot of what our kind of reasoning for starting this club was to kind of provide that space for BA students who didn't have that before. And then it kind of just blossomed into something that was able to be inclusive for everybody. And I think it's just really important to have a space that you can go, and it's kind of nerve-wracking to try new things. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And in the art world, it's also expensive sometimes. So if you really want to try out printmaking, but you don't have the budget to go buy all the tools and the linocut and everything else you need, it can be kind of expensive, and it kind of turns people away. So it's important for us to kind of be able to provide people the opportunity to come together and make art, because everybody should make art. And you shouldn't have any barriers for doing that.
I love that. It's so inclusive, and it's kind of a space to explore, which is so interesting, because sometimes, as an as somebody who's not an arts major, I think that when you do an art major, it's you have access to all these things, but you bring a budget and even time. I feel like sometimes there's not even time to explore. So I'm really grateful that there's something like that on campus for all students. And so when do you guys meet?
We meet on Tuesdays in FA3 112, and it is from 12 to 1. It's not every week, but every week there's typically someone in there to just hang out, but our events are usually every 3 weeks. So on Tuesdays.
Lovely.
At 12.
And so when you're at Club Fair, you have your table out. What's your pitch to students? You can give them a sentence or two.
It's more so just do you like art?
Hey,
and then they go, yeah. And then we go, do you want to make art? And then they go, yeah. And we're like, perfect, sign up. It's just a lot of our club members have been able to form tight-knit relationships, and it's been a bonding experience both as an officer and as a member for me personally. So it's been great to just kind of share your passion for art with other people who you might not have found otherwise. So it's a great place to do it.
Sounds like a lovely opportunity to meet new people, make art, and just be happy.
Exactly.
I really, really love that.
Yeah.
And so that's one aspect of what you do here on campus. Very involved in the art world. I know that you work at 22 West Media as well.
I do.
What do you do there?
I do the ads. So my position is the advertising associate, which isn't as heavily involved in the arts as like the arts director or anything like that could be, but being a staff member of 22 West Media kind of gives me an opportunity to get an inside look of how the creative process of like making a published magazine works. And so it's really insightful and a great opportunity to kind of like be a part of the behind the scenes work that goes on with the magazine. For the March issue that's coming out on Monday, it's our women's issue. Traditionally, its focus is to kind of just like highlight and emphasize the successes of women. And I had the opportunity to do the cover art for that magazine, and that magazine is going to be distributed next week. So I'm super excited to like see that go around. And yeah, it's super fun to be able to be a part of it because it's a great production.
Oh, absolutely. So. I love seeing the magazines that go around campus. Obviously, this is being posted through the Long Beach Current, but there is a camaraderie between all the different, publications on campus. And I think it's so interesting that you're not a journalism student who's working for the magazine. How do you think that your education as a graphic design student ties into what you do at the publication or your advertisement work?
As with everything with the magazine, it needs to be kind of organized and laid out in a way that's appealing to look at, and it needs to be something that's also easy to read.
Absolutely.
And with our ads, it's a lot of times, sometimes people have ideas for ads, but they aren't particularly sure what they want it to be. So there has been occasions in the past where myself and our former advertising manager would work together to design the ads for people, but also a matter of figuring out where it should go in the layout and how the sizing of the ad can fit into the spreads and make sure we meet our page counts and all that. It all kind of plays together when you're producing a magazine. So I feel like my graphic design education kind of comes in with that as far as layouts and making sure everything can flow and kind of work together nicely.
Absolutely. It makes sense that, you want it to look good and you want it to be visually appealing. And that's definitely something that applies to what you're learning. So I didn't really think about that aspect. I feel like a lot of the times when I talk to students or professionals, they bring up these points about things I see every single day, but I don't think about. So it's really beautiful that I get to learn more about this.
Yeah, it's super. One of the things I really love about graphic design is that it's everywhere. Like, all the signs you see, graphic design. All the logos for all the things you use on a daily basis, that's graphic design. It's really cool to me that the whole world is graphic design, and I think that I feel especially honored to be a part of contributing to that.
It's definitely a very versatile media and a versatile way to create art. I think it's very, very interesting, And so how did you find out about working for 22 West Media in the first place?
Yeah, so one of my super close best friends was working as the lead copy editor at the magazine at the time. And she was letting me know that there was going to be an advertising position opening up. And I knew that advertising was a little bit distant from my major. It's not like it was a graphic design position, but I felt like getting into advertising would be a way to kind of broaden my skills a little bit. And as scary as it can be to try new things, I was really feeling like ready for a challenge and for a way to kind of broaden my skills as more than just an artist, as like more so on the marketing side of things too. So that opportunity really excited me. So I went online and I applied for it and I had my interview and it went great. And then, I've been working there since November of 2023. So
wow, very, very long time. It's very impressive.
Thanks.
So you mentioned it's more of like the marketing side, the advertisement side. Where do you see yourself in the future with like your graphic design degree? Will it be something similar to magazine or, studio art? Like, how does that apply?
Yeah, no, it could be a lot of things, and I haven't quite settled on what avenue I want to take it with yet, but that's because I kind of just want to try everything.
Period.
Yep.
We got to explore.
Yes. So I really am passionate about music and the beach. So taking it to either avenues of surf or avenues of concerts, something in those industries would be really, really special. I think that I just could not work for a creative company. I think I need to be doing something creative. And even though graphic design is inherently creative, I don't think that my space is in like a cubicle in like a corporate office for like some big company. I think that I need to work with a team and with a creative team. And so I'm really hoping, I'm excited to see where it takes me, but yeah, I kind of want to see all the places I can take it.
I love that. And, you know, you said exploring different avenues, being very creative is a very important aspect to your education here on campus. Do you feel that, you know, what is more important, faculty that's helped you the most in this avenue, or is it the different clubs and opportunities that are here through clubs and, you know, publications?
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of everything. I feel like I've been super fortunate in my experience at Long Beach State so far, and in regards of having tight-knit friends, it's a bit of everything. I feel like professors can take you, but only can take you so far.
Right.
And your friends and your peers that are in your classes can take you, but only so far. It kind of, at the end of the day, it is like, you just have to kind of find it in yourself, but also you couldn't find it within yourself without the support of those around you. So I feel like I've been fortunate enough that my professors and my peers and my club members in BA Studio Art Club and my coworkers at 22 West and all of the people even in my cohort for graphic design have all been super supportive and encouraging of me. And yeah.
I love to hear that because, and it makes sense, and I feel like this is not just applicable to graphic design, but, you know, the professors are there to help you, your friends are there to help you, the support system, but you ultimately have to look for those opportunities and grow as a student beyond just your classes, which I feel like you're taking advantage of all the opportunities that you've been given, so it's really heartening to see.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I wish there was just more hours in the day so I could do more, because there's really a lot of great resources here on campus that I feel like
absolutely
are just sometimes people don't take advantage of or people just don't know about. So it's something I'm passionate about too, to kind of be able to share it through and spread the word about these kinds of things to more people. So
absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing about that.
Of course.
And, you know, I've been talking to you a lot, and I learned something that I didn't even know was a thing you could do. It's called being a meeting illustrator. And that's something that you also do. You know, you're taking advantage of every opportunity, which is really great to see. I didn't even know what a meeting illustrator was. What is a meeting illustrator? You know?
Yeah. So a meeting illustrator, also sometimes called a graphic recorder, but basically at conferences or events or retreats that are centered around discussions or presentations, a lot of the times these conversations can become hard to follow, or these conversations are super meaningful, but there's taking notes, just regular notes of the presentation doesn't capture the full nature of the conversation. And so with graphic recording, it really allows the conversation to be facilitated by live visuals on screen, and it allows for a piece of artwork to come out of the meeting that participants can look back on and use to kind of like centralize the conversation on and return to it for later use. But basically, the process of graphic recording basically just is, there is this meeting happening around you, and I'm up at the front of the meeting hooked up to a monitor, and as the conversation is happening, I'm live drawing and taking notes and doodling essentially the key points of the conversation to kind of create a piece of artwork that flows with the conversation, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And like some of these meetings can be so boring. So it's like another aspect of understanding and like a visual. For some people, it's like purely a visual learner. So having that extra tool is really interesting and rad.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's so much fun. And people have come up to me in my graphic recording gigs and said to me that this has just made it so much easier for them to follow the conversation, and it made it so much easier for them to not get lost in what was happening because it's being recorded in front of them live on screen. And they also just really enjoy seeing my interpretation as an artist of what is being said, because certain ideas can be hard to grasp too. Like, how would you know, if you're someone who's a visual learner and you're trying to like write down what this concept of, or these abstract concepts that you might not be able to kind of like put a name to, or you might not be able to explain with words, but following a visual, you might feel more inclined to like continue the conversation or like respond in a different way based on what you're seeing visually on the screen. So yeah, it's definitely a helpful tool for people, for sure.
Absolutely. It does sound like it. And what kind of conferences or like meetings have you attended so far?
Yeah, so far I've only had 2 graphic recording gigs so far. The first one I did was for a student affairs conference here in the USU ballrooms back in January. It was focused on building bridges, and there was a lot of themes of unity and support and collaboration, and kind of essentially it was a discussion about how educators and who specifically work in student affairs are able to kind of be the best resource for students that they can be. So that was a really great conversation to document. And then my second one was for the Office of the Chancellor at the CSU.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
So it was a retreat about a year of engagement, and so it was reflecting on the CSU system and how each campus has its own ways of handling certain things and how they can work and be the best resource they can for students as well. So
interesting. So these topics don't seem very easy to grasp right on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just show up and they tell you this is what our meeting's going to be about, or do you have prior resources to help you understand what's going to go out throughout the entire meeting?
Yeah, so that kind of, it can depend. The Building Bridges conference, they were able to send me over not quite a script, but like an itinerary or like an agenda the night before. So I was able to kind of review and get some main ideas from that. And with that, I kind of just took some time to practice and prepare some drawings and figure out what I felt could visually represent these ideas. So I kind of just started to practice things and see what I could translate into the meeting. But sometimes it's confidential. So at the, at the CSU one, they were not able to provide me the materials beforehand. So I just kind of had to follow along with the conversation. And of course, with any conversation, people will raise their hand and input things that you have no way to like predict. So even when it's fully predictable, the majority of it is on the fly.
Oh, okay. So she's quick on her feet.
Quick. Yeah.
Quick. And wow, I don't think I could ever do that. Just like on the fly. That's so exciting. How are your days, like super long, super short? Is it draining?
It depends on what the event is for. It can go for anywhere between a few hours to a full weekend or whatever kind of the conference call or the event calls for. But I personally don't find it draining because I've always been someone who I'm an artist, so I always have liked drawing, and I've always liked I am also a visual learner, so for me, taking notes visually is kind of just how I do it anyways.
Oh,
so it kind of almost feels like I'm just sitting in another class, like I'm taking notes for another class, but it's more interactive than that, which I feel like makes it not so draining, even when it's like a full day of doing it.
It's so interesting that it's not draining. It seems like the perfect blend between art and like work and what you're interested in, what you've already been doing. Mm-hmm. Is the art that you're doing, or the drawings that you do, strictly just a live thing, or do they go out later on to other people?
Yeah, so they're done live, but at the end of the conversations, the images are forwarded to whoever the coordinator is, and then they get shared out with all the participants of the conversation. So it happens live, but then there is a finished product that people get to kind of look back on and have to kind of show others. in particular at the CSU retreat that I graphic recorded for, there were some participants talking to me about how they had presentations that they needed to give to the Office of the Chancellor to basically prove where the money's going or prove what, like, that the things that they're saying they're going to do are getting done. And so there was a few people who did come up to me and say that this was going to be very helpful for them in like providing that, because they can be like, we spent this budget to have this retreat to come together and talk about how we can be better as a system of universities. And we have this piece of artwork to kind of like summarize what we talked about and what we learned and what we kind of explored and figured out. So it's a helpful piece of, it's like, it can almost be proof of conversation and that something meaningful happened at that meeting that you wouldn't quite have otherwise. So.
Exactly. I love that. It's just like, it's a live interpretation of what actually happened.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I never knew that even existed. And I think that if I ever went to a conference, that was something that they had. So helpful. Incredibly helpful, because
totally.
And like, even as like, if I was giving a presentation on what happened at that conference, I have visuals already ready for me. I don't need to look it up on Google.
Exactly.
Whatever it is.
You have them ready to go, and you can follow along. And though they're full of, the drawings are very full, and so they have a lot happening in them, but you can follow along with the flow of the conversation. It's not like it's this abstract image and then you're wondering like, oh, how did we get here? Like, it shows kind of the progression and how the conversation naturally kind of ebbed and flowed into this topic or that topic. So it's super helpful.
Absolutely. I think it'd be 100% a useful tool. Hopefully that I see more of this in the future. Hopefully more people get to know about it. How did you initially find out about this opportunity to work as a graphic recorder?
Yeah, so over the winter break for this past semester, one of the heads of the graphic design department, Tanya Cummings, reached out to all of us newly accepted BFA cohort members and basically just connected us to this opportunity, and basically pitched the Student Affairs Conference and let us know that they were looking for somebody to graphic record. That would be interested in picking this up, acknowledging that it's kind of a new skill because it is a niche,
right?
But acknowledging it was presented as a very beginner friendly opportunity, which was great. And I got that email and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool, actually.
Like, I might actually do this.
Yeah, I was like,
yes.
Wait, yes. That's exactly. I was like, wait, that sounds really cool. And so I sent over my notes. I replied that I was interested, and I sent over a sample of some of the notes I've taken for classes before. And Tanya went and forwarded those to the coordinators of the conference. And so I was able to get essentially like hired by them for that. So yeah, it was super like kind of just random, and it just presented itself to me. And I was like, okay,
I'll take it. Actually. It's so cool that it just like sprung up on you and you took it and you ran with it. Do you potentially see this as like a long-term thing for you, or is it just like in the temporary? You're just interested in learning more about it?
Yeah, I think it would be a really cool thing to take forward. It's a great way to travel. It's a great way to meet new people and network. So there's a lot of things that it can do for me, and there's a lot of things that I can do for others through it, which is something that really calls to me a lot. And I see it as something that I take with me, and as I grow and as I get better at it, the opportunities that I have for it could expand, and that's something that I'm personally really excited for. So
it seems like you're open to exploring, trying new things. This is like a perfect opportunity in a sense. I absolutely love that. And, I'm bringing it back to graphic design, because I think that it's important for students to branch out and try new things as a way to relate it back to what they're actually studying in school.
Totally.
How do you see this work as a media illustrator, a graphic recorder, helpful for your career as a graphic design student or as a graphic designer in general?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. it's kind of funny because I feel like on the surface you wouldn't see them really as being super connected, but truthfully, graphic design is all about kind of organizing information visually through text, all of that. And graphic recording also is kind of about organizing information visually and through less so like thick body copy text, and more so in just kind of little notes here and there. But they're both about kind of like analyzing information and putting it out in a way that's visually appealing and in a way that is appetizing to people, especially in a corporate world. It becomes easy to lose that charm of like that whimsy, that spark of creativity can sometimes easily get snuffed out in the wake of like efficiency or organization or whatever. So I feel like it's a great way to kind of, both of them, graphic design and graphic recording, are both a way to kind of bring a spark of life and creativity and energy back into things that might not be exciting. Like, you could look at a logo and think it's not super exciting, but a well-designed logo to me is like exciting, and I feel like it brings that spark of like life and like creativity and joy back into things that wouldn't otherwise be exciting. And I feel like graphic recording is the same way, because I've never been a super like formal, like go to conferences, go to meetings kind of person. So I think it's a cool way to kind of bring energy into spaces that might not be super energetic.
That's a great way of looking at it, because you're like exercising the ability to make something visually appealing and digestible. I feel like when you're doing your work, you're making it digestible for other people. You know, staring at like a screen all day, I think your eyes would glaze over. But you're looking at like an actual illustration of what's going on seems so interesting to look at. Yeah, I love that angle of taking it in another direction. So I love hearing about what you're doing on campus. You're so involved, and you're really applying everything that you love and, you know, to your studies. So yeah, it's wonderful to hear about, you know?
Yeah, thank you. It means a lot this is exactly what I mean with the support I was talking about.
So we've talked a lot about what you do on campus. We talked about, you know, being a officer on the BA Studio Arts Club, your work as a media illustrator, your work at 22S Media. Very well-rounded student, I would say.
Well, thank you.
And, you know, it's so exciting to see that you're taking everything you can. And what do you want to do in the end? What's the end goal after you graduate, or by the time you graduate, you know?
Yeah, there's the end goal really would be to be able to travel, be able to be a freelance graphic designer, to be able to explore the world, go new places, surf good waves. Matters a lot to me.
Well, yes.
And just kind of sharing art around the world. I feel like I've always had a passion for art as like a method of storytelling and kind of like sharing experiences and kind of like collaborating in our own humanity, because I feel like one of the most human things you can do is make art. And
absolutely,
I just think that it would mean a lot to me to be able to just continue to make art and try new things and make as much art as I can all over the world. So that's the long-term goal. That's
a great long-term goal. You know, travel, make beautiful art, make people happy. Can't complain about that, can I?
Nope.
And, you know, as a student yourself, who is very involved, who seems very successful in what they're doing, for a BA student of art, a graphic design student, or just anyone in general, do you have any advice for them moving forward in their careers, in their major, being at school, you know?
Yeah. A lot of the times, you hold yourself back more than you even realize. And I feel like in my own experience, there's a lot of opportunities that I didn't jump on previously because I thought, oh, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't qualified enough for whatever reason. And it almost feels like really silly to look back on that now, because there's no right or wrong way to make art. And I feel like it's really important to lean into who you are, lean into your spark, because that spark doesn't exist in everybody, and nobody has the spark in the same way that you do, and there's no way of really going wrong with that unless you don't go for it at all. So I think it's just really important to take risks and put yourself out there, because even though it's scary, it's gonna do a lot more good than it will harm in the long run. And you'll learn a lot of new things, you'll meet a lot of new people, you'll find a lot of new hobbies and passions. Because if I was able to tell myself when I was a senior in high school that I would come to Long Beach State and I would be involved in all these different ways, I would have been like, what?
Like,
girl, what? What? So I just never thought that I would be the kind of person to be involved with everything. Even though I've always had a passion for things, and I've always had dreams of being a part of stuff like this, I never thought that they'd be something I'd actually kind of work towards. So it's been really rewarding, and I think that no matter who you are, like, truly anyone from anywhere can do anything. So the world is your oyster.
The world is your oyster. What a great bit of advice.
Yeah.
Last question.
Last question.
Do you have any shout outs, any last remarks that you want to preach to the listeners and to the watchers?
Oh my goodness. Shout outs.
Shout outs, any projects that you're looking forward to?
Love. I would say shout out Long Beach Surf Team. How we even were able to get close anyways. Shout out to BA Studio Club. BA Studio Art Club, obviously. Shout out to my coworkers at 22 West and my BFA cohort. It's been really great to have great people to lean on, and also to like my family and my friends outside of the art world and outside of school, and that have been able to support me and really have taken care of me. I have future projects that I'm excited for with my graphic design cohort, which you can keep up with what I'm doing with graphic design on my Instagram, which is designed by PJS, and then my art Instagram account where I just post other miscellaneous art things is art by Smitty with 2 Y's at the end.
Period.
So, yeah.
Check them out if you want to see more work by the lovely Payton Smith here today. But, thank you so much for being on the episode. I feel like my brain expanded with knowledge of graphic design and art, and I love that it's here on campus. You don't have to be at some fancy UCLA school or, fancy rich art school that have so much opportunity and so much beautiful art. So I really appreciate you being on the episode here today.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you again to all the listeners and watchers here today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Artist Banter, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next installment. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.